Hello, Grace. Thank you so much for sharing your work. Okay, I want to take a look at your examples, and I happen to agree with you on all fronts here. I think this is fascinating illustration. And this is as well. This is really super reminiscent of tattoo art, and I have nothing but respect for tattoo artists because it's definitely a style that's associated with the genre, and I think it's easy for us to look at a style and say yes, reminiscent of tattoo. I think that this is a little bit. It's a little bit. I think it's lacking a little bit in contrast, especially through the tonal values of it, right through this area. I think that these two dogs' structure could be a little bit more well defined, and I think that would be accomplished by increasing the tonal variation. In other words, the tonal value associated with the darkest darks and the lightest lights. I think it could use more contrast in that respect. Other than that, I think it's really stylistically really beautiful. The background to me interferes a little bit with the illustration itself. This area right here is a little bit difficult. I think you'll have to agree it's a little bit difficult to look at. And you look at it, once you get it, you see, okay, I see what it is. I see what's going on now. Okay, but at first, it takes a minute. And that could be a tactic by the illustrator to keep your eye in the composition. That was a technique that was used extensively in the psychedelic period associated with the 1960s and early 70s. And those artists in psychedelic graphic design era, one of the intents was to keep the viewer in the composition. And that's why you see a lot of different stylistic renderings that kind of are difficult to see at first. It's difficult to perceive at first. Then the closer you look, the more clear it becomes. Mission accomplished, right? The viewer has stayed in the composition. I think this piece is really super interesting because this is a photograph right here. It's an enhanced photograph. That's not an illustration. It's done digitally. I think that's very, very obvious. But the technique of using a photograph with design elements originates from during World War One, and where some of the modernist styles, including Russian constructivism and Dada, all used this convergence of photography with design to create these really interesting compositions. I think this is no exception. It's a good choice right there. This is interesting, and this is where my question is going to lie. And I know you said what you would do is kind of rearrange the where was it? It made it possible to read the whole layout need to be thrown out. I disagree. I think that this does have some potential, and this is what I'm going to ask you to address in your response. But yes, so I'm trying to find out if I could change something. It would be image, would be layout of the words. Okay, I want you to describe what you mean. Okay, and my idea here is this: is that stylistically, it's an attractive piece. You can't deny that, right? It's fun to look at. Um, Conceptually and in terms of execution, as in terms of the communicated value, it's not successful because, as you said, there's just no way to look at it. If we're not familiar with the phrase, if there's a will, there's a way, then we wouldn't get this. The closure doesn't fit like that. The closure fits when we put these words together. It's kind of like Jeopardy, where you have a couple of letters, you're able to fit the words together. Well, here we have a couple of words. They're recognizable enough that we can fit the phrase together, right? But if this wasn't such a cliche, such a ubiquitous phrase, we wouldn't be able to put this together at all, right? So, and I want you to address this. I think my question is this. In terms of contrasts, and the contrasts here are scale and hue, right? So in terms of contrast, what would you do to this piece to add emphasis? And where would you add emphasis to make this easier to read? That's my question, and that's what I would like you to address in your response. Okay, great job, and looking forward to your response. Thank you very much.